What's up, what's up? Coach Ryan Family here in the Viper Pit. Today I got a new program for you if you've been stuck in a rut and trying to improve a given lift, whether that be your bench press, your squat, your deadlift. I suppose technically you could use this for like a curl, but that would be really cheesy and kind of pathetic. So stick to the big lifts for this program, but this is the descending frequency program. How many of you, raise your hand behind your computer there, how many of you get stuck in a rut with how often you train a certain movement? Most of you train bench press probably 1 to 2 times a week, okay? And they've been doing that for eternity. Whatever schedule you're on, you've probably been doing it for a while. One of the variables that people don't think about when they manipulate through the course of a program is how often they're training a certain lift. So this is a descending frequency program. So at the start of the program, you're training a lift very, very frequently, okay? The goal of this is it's basically technique practice in phase 1, and we'll get into it in just a second. It's a 3-phase program, but the goal of the first phase is to have this really, really high frequency to get your body used to doing it often. And then as the course of the program goes on, you start to taper the frequency down a little bit or reduce the frequency. And then what happens is you get almost a slingshot-like effect in your strength as you get towards the end of the program. Because now, you've built a high recovery ability, a high work capacity in that first phase with the high frequency, and then you take advantage of that the entire rest of the program. So it's 3 phases. Each phase is 4 weeks in length, and you should kind of have a theme with these phases. So phase 1 is basically technique practice. You're getting really, really good at the lift. So in this example, we're gonna say you're trying to boost your bench press. So the bench press is the main lift. Your frequency here is 3 times a week. So you're gonna lift 3 non-consecutive days per week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the bench would be a good example. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You just don't wanna have it back to back. You're still gonna train the rest of your body during this program, but at a reduced kind of volume intensity, more on maintenance since you're trying to really drive this lift. Volume is gonna be very, very high because we're lifting 3 times a week. So your weekly volume is gonna be a lot of sets and reps over time. Intensity, or how heavy the weight is gonna be low to medium. So 60 to 75% of your 1 rep max. That's not a lot, okay? It's not super heavy, but because you're doing it often, we're gonna create a lot of stimulus to the body. Now, I do not want you going to failure on these bench press sets. This is technique practice. Maybe 1 day per week you can really push it hard, but this is the time to really get in the groove, focus on your positioning, and also incorporate some techniques that help with those types of things. So phase 1, you're gonna do things like long pauses. So bring the bar down and just hold, hover pause right above your chest for maybe 5 seconds. You're gonna do things like the 1 1/4 method. You're gonna come all the way down, touch your chest, quarter of the way back up, back down, and then blast to lockout. You could throw in some long eccentrics, so taking the weight out and taking 10 seconds to lower to your chest and blasting it back up. None of these should be to failure. It should just be a challenging weight. As far as sets and reps go, you know, I can provide you a precise program later if there's interest. Let me know in the comment section below if you want to see like the full program here, and I'll lay it out and get it to you guys. But the idea here is just, so an example, on a long pause day, you may be using 60% of your 1 rep max and do 6 sets of 3 with a 5-second pause. That's an example. You don't want to be really doing sets of like 12 or anything like that during this phase. Keep it to like between 5 and 8 reps or even less, all right? I know that doesn't give you a lot to go on, but the idea here, I'd rather see you do a lot of sets of lower reps to get that volume, because again, it's technique practice. We're not bodybuilding here. We're not looking to totally blast muscle fibers. We're looking to improve skill. So when you're trying to improve skill, you don't want to create too high a fatigue level. So that's why I keep the sets, you know, 5 to 8 being the upper limit, but you could even do singles, doubles, and triples here. Doesn't really matter, okay? Now, phase 2, we're gonna move on. Phase 2, we're gonna decrease the frequency. Now we're down to 2 times a week, all right? You're gonna get a super compensation response from that, or a slingshot response, where you actually get stronger just by merely reducing the frequency. Volume's gonna be medium, moderate, so you wanna do less overall work than you did in phase 1, but still not bottom the work out. Intensity is gonna be medium high or heavy light. I put a huge range here, 30 to 100% of 1 RM. That is a massive range. Why would we do that? Well, if you are familiar with conjugate training or West Side barbell method, you'll know that you have a max effort day and a dynamic effort day. So this would be a good phase 2, to incorporate that program, that style of training. Having a really, really heavy day for bench press and a light day, a speed day, where you maybe use 30% of max plus some chains and just blast it up for quick sets of 3. I'm just trying to give you a framework here. I don't want to spoon feed you the entire sets reps programs, although I already agreed to do that, I suppose. But I want you to kind of think for yourself and learn to build your own program based on a framework or a template here. You don't have to do that though. You could keep it more even intensity, more in the 75 to 80% range across both days. For this phase, as far as exercise and methods used, I like to see sticking point work here. So doing things like, let's say you tend to get stuck just an inch or 2 off your chest. Well, you could do a 1 board press. You could do a floor press where you go down and you're actually laying on the floor instead of a bench. And when your triceps rest on the floor, you pause there and drive it up. You could do shorter pauses, so a 1 count pause. You could do shorter eccentric accentuated reps, so like a 4-second down, blast up instead of 10 seconds. A lot of options here. Also, this is a good phase for accommodating resistance, things like chains, bands, etc. Okay, that's phase 2. Then we get to the peaking portion of the program, phase 3. We reduce the frequency down now to 1 time per week. So you're only going to bench 1 time a week now. Now, with this as a caveat, it must be so severe on your recovery that you wouldn't dream of benching again for another week. Now, how do you do that if the volume is very, very low? Well, quite simply, a very, very high intensity, maximal in fact. An example of this workout might be bench press, 2 sets of 2 with the heaviest possible weight you could even dream of doing for 2 reps. Or 3 singles with the heaviest possible weight you could dream of for doing sets of 1 rep with good technique, of course. Also, overloads would be a good place for this. What I mean by overloads, so you do your main bench work, say 3 sets of 1 in the bench press with the heaviest weight you can do for 3 sets of 1. Then getting into overloads would be maybe rack lockouts, where you're just locking out the top portion. So you set pins in a power rack in a strong position, you lock it out, and maybe you hold there for a little bit. It could be slingshot work if you're familiar with Mark Bell's slingshot. It could be high board presses like a 5 board press. Goal here being to use more weight on those exercises than you can actually bench press, to train your brain and your central nervous system to get used to that heavier weight, that maximal weight. The volume's low though. We're not doing a ton of reps. Here should be primarily singles, doubles, and triples, if even that. Really sticking to singles and doubles for this phase, getting heavier each week as you go to the final peaking phase, all right? So that's just one way you can manipulate frequency in addition to the other parameters to create a training effect across 12 weeks. So many people that I see in their programs, they just get the static kind of stimulus, though that they may change exercises or the sets and reps may change a little bit, but we're talking about a dramatic swing here from the first 4 weeks to the last 4 weeks. And those dramatic swings are often what force the body to adapt and get stronger. It would not be a shocker to me if some of you incorporated this methodology and added 40 pounds to your bench press in a 12-week time frame. It would not shock me at all. I've seen it countless times with this setup. So commit yourself to it. If you are interested in seeing maybe an exact program of what this could look like, then just let me know in the comment section below. I'm reluctant to do it because, again, I want you to think for yourself. I want you to learn to program for yourself, because that's ultimately how you're going to get the best training response. But nevertheless, some of you have a little less experience than others, and you might like to see the actual framework. Let me know in the comments section, and I will hook you up, all right? I'm Coach Ryan Family from the VIPAR Pit. If you like this video, please hit subscribe below. I will catch you next time. Boom!